Good everyone, Matt here from Mile Marker 66. In the last few months, I've had a few colleagues and friends who've bought new barbecues or their first charcoal barbecue, and they've asked me a few questions through the process of buying them, which are all definitely very valid and common questions that you'd expect to get from someone buying their first solid fuel barbecue. But got me to thinking that if they're asking these questions, there's a good chance that there's a lot of other people out there who might have the same questions. So what we're going to go through today is some considerations to think about when you're buying your first charcoal or solid fuel barbecue, and some of the things that you need to get when you buy it, and some of the things you need to do when you get it home. Okay, so the first consideration is a really obvious one, but that's your budget. How much money you've got to spend on a barbecue. This is important for a couple of reasons. For one, you don't want to be buying a barbecue you can't afford. But secondly, you want to be making sure that you get the most bang for buck, that you're getting the best possible barbecue you can from within your budget. So if I can give an example, if you had, just to throw a figure out there, a budget of $800 and you went and bought an offset barbecue, that might not be the best quality barbecue you can get for that money. The construction's probably not going to be super thick. It's going to be less efficient, therefore more expensive to run, and also a bit harder to run, particularly if it's your first barbecue and you're not used to that sort of cooking. Whereas if you were to buy, say, a bullet smoker or a pit barrel or something like the Chargilla Acorn here, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. You're getting something that's pretty straightforward to run, really great to learn on, and a consistent and efficient barbecue. Now, the other consideration you need to think about is your barbecue lifestyle. So if I can use the example of an offset again, great barbecues, I love cooking on an offset, but you have to operate them right throughout the cook. So you're constantly fueling it, you've got to be around. So if you've got the time to do that, then maybe that's the barbecue for you. Perhaps you might want a barbecue where you can put something on, get it running, and then you can head off and maybe wash the car or mow the lawns or do some jobs around the house, and then come back and check on your meat a little bit later. So these are sort of things you need to weigh up. Maybe you want something that gives you a bit more freedom to do other things. Or you can even go to the other extreme of something like a pellet grill, where you're down the road and you're monitoring your temperatures from your phone. So it's really what suits your lifestyle. So I think if you look at the budget, getting the most you can from your budget, and a barbecue that's going to suit your lifestyle, and as an extension to that, that suits the type of food you want to cook, that's going to help narrow down where you're looking for a new barbecue. So look, I'm not going to tell you guys what sort of barbecue you should buy, because it's kind of a personal choice. I haven't cooked on every type of barbecue in the world. I know the barbecues that I like, but they may not suit everyone else. So I'd get out there and do a bit of research, jump on the internet and look at the manufacturer websites where they've got videos and descriptions to see if they suit what you're looking for. Read reviews that other people have used them. There's YouTube videos, all sorts of things like that. And there's social media as well. And you've got a great big pool of people who've cooked on all sorts of different barbecues who have a lot of experience, but I would just use that maybe not as your primary source of research, maybe as a confirmatory, because if you ask an open question like what sort of barbecue I should get, you're going to get 50 different answers. Okay, when you're buying your first barbecue, there's also a few key accessories I think you should pick up with it. Now, there are 1,000,001 barbecue accessories out there on the market, and you'll learn over time which ones that you want or need and which ones you don't. But I think there's 4 that are really handy to pick up when you first start barbecuing. First one is your chimney starter, and we'll go over this briefly shortly. Second is a good pair of hot gloves to protect your hands when you're pouring hot coals, you're picking up hot grills off the barbecue, you're moving baffle plates in and out. These are really, really handy. But also, if you can, look at getting a second pair of thinner cotton gloves that have a bit more dexterity. You can put your rubber gloves over when you're handling meat and things like that. And lastly, a good instant read temperature probe. These things are really handy, very accessible. So I think that's some key accessories that are really handy to pick up when you buy your first barbecue, and they're going to help you a lot. Okay, so you've gone out, you bought your barbecue, you've got it home, you've put it together, and you're really excited to do your first cook. But one thing you need to do before you cook any meat in it is what we call seasoning. So when the barbecue's on the factory line, or it comes off the factory line, there's probably some residual stuff in there that you don't want with your food, really. Maybe some solvents or paint or grease, just a few things like that. So the best way to get rid of all that is essentially just to burn it off. And so what we're going to do is we light a chimney of charcoal, we're going to put it inside and let it go till it's all burned out. Okay, so I mentioned we're going to talk briefly about the chimney starter, and we'll light this up so we can season our barbecue. There's a number of different chimney starters or brands out there in the market, but they're all essentially the same design. They're cylindrical like this. You can see inside they've got a little grate. So we pour our charcoal in the top here, and then we've got a little gap at the bottom here, and that's where our heat source goes. And you can see a lot of it's got holes all around it. This is just for maximum airflow to get those charcoals lit as quickly as we can. In terms of the heat source, you can screw up bits of newspaper and put them under there. You can put firelighters under there, or you can do what we're going to do today and just put it on a single element butane gas cooker, I guess, and use that as our heat source to light our charcoal. All right, so we've lit that now. We'll just leave it for a little bit, and depending on the charcoal you're using, you might be looking somewhere around the 15 to 20 minute mark till they're all lit. And you can tell they're all lit. One, you'll be able to see some flames come out the top, and also you'll see your charcoal will start going white, and that's an indicator that they are lit. Okay, so you can see we've got some flame coming out the top there, or hopefully you guys can see that. And you can see there's a couple of briquettes here that are starting to go white. And so if they're starting to go white at the top here, all the ones beneath it all the way up are going to be lit as well. So I'm happy with that, and we're going to put these in the barbecue now. Right, so I've got all those lit coals in there now. I've opened up the bottom vent a fair way. I'll open up the top vent, and we're just going to let it burn out. So you can leave this overnight, or if you did it in the morning, you just let it go for the day until all the charcoal is burned out, and then any residual stuff that's come from the factory should be burned off, and you'll be good to go to cook some meat. Right, barbecue cleaning and maintenance. Look, the competition is probably a bit different. We make sure our barbecues are all very clean before we go, but just at home, I don't get too carried away with it. I empty the ash catcher when it's full. When I'm finished with a cook, I always get the wire brush and give the grate a good clean. And the reason I do it straight after a cook is because if there's any sort of sauce or anything left over from your cook, once it cools down and hardens up, it can be quite hard to get off. It's better to do it when it's warm. It comes off nice and easy. One thing you can do, if you've got a deflector plate or something similar, a good idea is to do something like this and wrap it in tin foil. So if there's anything that drips down, any fat or sauce that drips down from your meat, it's going to land on this. You can screw that up, chuck your tin foil out, and redo it again. It's just going to have to save. It's just going to save you having to clean your baffle plate or your deflector or anything you've got under there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Some considerations to think about when you're first buying a barbecue. Some things to do when you get your barbecue home. Now, one thing that I think is a good idea, and I know I did it when I first started, and it is a little bit geeky, but when you first start cooking, get a notebook and start noting down a few things from your cooks. You know, what sort of fuel you used, how much you put in, what temperature you were cooking at. And then if you find your cook next time doesn't quite go the same as it did last, you can refer back and see what you did last time. But other than that, we hope you guys picked something up today. Look, there's probably a few things we didn't cover off, so if you've got any questions, hit us up on social media, or you can ask us a question in the comments below. Other than that, if you like our stuff, give us a subscribe and a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.